Hi everybody, my name is Kay, and this is kind of like a mukbang mixed with a stories to tell in the dark thing. Yeah, it's scary stories. Um, Before I get started, you guys, I just wanted to tell you I'm not very good at cooking pizza because I tend to forget. So I can knock it on my pizza. Mm. Mm-hmm. It's good regardless. So it's basically just a cheese pizza. I got it the store with some chunks of pineapple and olives on it. As you can see, I'm dipping it in ranch. Mm. It's good regardless. Okay, so one of the stories I think I'll either do one or two. I don't know which. Yeah. So this one is called The Nurse. A girl had just finished nursing school and started working at a new hospital. Although she loved her job as a nurse, she found it difficult to get along with the people she worked with. They were mostly young doctors who had just finished medical school. The problem was that they delighted in pulling pranks on each other. She found it very difficult living with them in the residence next to the hospital because they stayed up late at night and they made too much noise. The nurse worked very long hours and needed all the sleep she could get. Whenever she complained about their behavior, the mischief doctors just laughed in her face and told her to shut her fat mouth. The nurse eventually had to report the young doctors to the hospital manager, and they got all sorts of trouble. The doctors began to really hate the nurse and spend the days devising a plan to get revenge on her. Finally, one of the doctors came up with a really sick prank they could play on the nurse, and the other gleefully agreed to help. That night, they broke into the mortuary in the hospital basement and sawed one of the arms off the corpse. Then they sneaked into the nurse's bedroom and put the severed arm under her bedclothes. They placed it at the bottom of her bed so that when she laid down, her feet would touch it. Chuckling at themselves, they stood around the hallway waiting for the young nurse to go to bed. As the girl went into her room, the doctors had to stop themselves from laughing out loud. The nurse was suspicious of their behavior, but she was too tired to care and went into her bedroom, closing the door behind her. The men waited impatiently in the hallway for the nurse to find the severed arm in her bed, but nothing happened. There was no screaming, no angry yells, only silence. After the while, the doctors got fed up and waiting around for the decision and turned in for the night. They assumed they had placed the severed arm too far down in the bed, and the nurse must not have felt it. The next morning, they woke up. The doctors went to check on the nurse, receiving no answer when they knocked on her door. They turned the handle and went inside. The room seemed completely empty. The doctors searched the nurse's bedroom, and when they opened their closet, they were greeted by a horrible sight. The nurse was curled up in the corner of the closet. Her hair had turned completely white. Her eyes rolled back in her head, and she had gone totally insane. Her face looked like it had aged 20 years. Worst of all, she was chewing on the severed arm. That's kind of creepy, you guys. She was chewing on the severed arm. Woo! I wonder if it was just the lack of sleep. I'm pretty sure if she slept a little longer, it was all just a phase, you know. This one seemed fairly decent. This one is called The Attic. There was an old man who lived alone in an old house in the woods. He kept himself mostly and rarely went into town. He kept himself mostly and rarely went into town. He spent all day in the forest hunting for food, and when it got dark, he would come home and cook his dinner. One dark night, the old man had just finished his meal, and he heard a strange noise. It sounded like something was moving around in the attic. He picked up his gun, loaded it, trying not to make any noise, and then took off his shoes and socks and slowly climbed the attic stairs without making a sound. Slowly, the old man tiptoed up the creaking steps until at last he reached the attic door. For a moment, he stood outside just listening, but he couldn't hear a thing. Then he suddenly threw open the door. Rushing inside, he let out a bloody cry. Ah! Why did he scream? You'd scream too if you stepped on a nail in your bare foot. Yep. I'd scream too. Hopefully that didn't scare you too much. I apologize if it did. But sorry, but not sorry, sort of thing. And so you guys, tomorrow, I'm going shopping. We're going shopping tomorrow. So tomorrow you'll be able to see what, I pick up for all the stuff I get to pick up. So that happens on the main channel, Bitchin' and Eatin'. And so you get to see a shopping vlog of foods and stuff. Let's see how long this one is. If it's not very long, we'll read it. No, it doesn't seem to be very long. This one is called Brown Suit. A man died, and his wife went to the funeral parlor to see his husband's corpse. When she saw him lying in the coffin in a blue suit, she started crying. The undertaker felt sorry for her and asked if there was anything he could do for her. The woman said that her husband was alive. The woman said when her husband was alive, he always wore a brown suit. Sorry, my bad. The undertaker had put the wrong suit on the corpse. The undertaker apologized to the woman and said he would rectify the mistake immediately. The woman sat down on the sofa in the waiting room while the undertaker went into the back room. A few minutes later, he came out and told her that he had finished. When she went into the back room, she saw her husband was laid out peacefully in the coffin, wearing his favorite brown suit. Now he looks just the way he did when he was alive, she said. But how did you change it so quickly? It was no trouble, she said. The undertaker. I actually put your husband's suit on another corpse, so I just switched the heads. Oh, it said sit, so that confused me a second. So he just switched the heads of the corpses. That's terrible. And then he probably used the putty to fix it. Yes. I had an itch, so I itched it. So that wasn't too bad. Okay, you guys, that's it for me. I would like to thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Remember to turn on your notification belly button once, so you know when I upload a video next. And yeah. So yeah. Also remember to shine bright like a jack-o'-lantern because I human heart you. Bye everybody.